my beautiful people, beautiful souls. Welcome to my channel, Love and Light of One Infinite Creator. My name is Dalius, and today we're going to talk about fear. Fear. What it is and what it was its purpose, and how we outgrown its purpose, right? We still can adhere to it. It could be as a guide, but it shouldn't be overwhelming us, right? Right, like so. Let's start. Right. So, fear. What it is? Fear. It's a mechanism, self-protective mechanism of our mind. Like self-preservation mechanism, I should say, and it's based literally on the concept of not liking the outcome, you having the outcomes playing out in your mind, and you losing control of well, literally fear is of you losing control over anything, right? Once we learn to release expectations, then we release of wanting to control certain outcomes, right? And that means we become fearless. Alright? So, let's say if you have a dear person to you, and you are afraid of losing him, her, right? And you're going to do everything so that wouldn't happen. And that's a bad thing, right? That means you're not being your authentic yourself. You're playing up to, trying to match someone's expectations by not being yourself. And nobody likes ass lickers, right? Or at least nobody likes ass lickers for a long time, right? So I wouldn't want anyone to suck up to me. No, I don't like that. I would not appreciate that. And I need a constructive criticism, which is actually everyone appreciates constructive criticism as long as it is purposeful, right? And as long as it has its meaning, right? Or purposeful, meaningful. Yeah. So as long as it is constructive criticism, it is guiding us, pushing us right direction. But yeah, I think I went too far, right? I digress. So anyways, fear is self-preservation mechanism of undesired outcomes, right? So if you walking on the edge of the cliff, you're afraid of falling down, right? You're fearful of falling down. But did that actually happen? No. Could you go a bit closer? Probably yes. Probably that wouldn't be wise, but probably yes, you could. Probably you could sit on the ledge and swing your legs, which would be quite fun, as long as you are careful, right? You could tie a rope to a tree or any sort of big rock, and then sit down on the ledge, and when you want to come up, you just lean on the rope, and that will be safer. Yeah. So basically, fear is good thing, because without fear, you wouldn't think that you can tie a rope around the tree. You wouldn't know the outcome of that action, because you wouldn't realize the danger. Fear is for us to remind that there is something dangerous, and we should be careful about certain things, right? So we established fear is self-preservation method or mechanism, and it is actually awareness as well mechanism. If you're unaware of danger, walking in the dark, you could be stumbling in a pitfall and fall down, right? Break your neck or legs or whatever. So if you're aware of there is something, you will be fearful going through the dark. You will be touching your way through the darkness, right? And that might actually save your life. So it is a good thing to be aware of your fears, because then you know that there is something more than that, right? Same as me. If something happens the way I did not want it to happen, right? It does not trigger in me fear now, at least. My mind functions slightly differently now. It's like, oh, that's and why did I was afraid of that. And then I'm like, oh, okay. Then I go into self-analysis. Then I go, okay, so I was afraid of not that thing. I was afraid of that thing, and that thing here was the symptom of that thing. So that you actually going by that thread, and you can go back to your root cause of your fear, right? So you being afraid of losing your lover, right? Your other half, spouse, wife, right? Well, spouse. You are afraid of being alone. And why you are afraid of being alone? Maybe you want to block something off. Maybe you don't want to hear your thoughts. Maybe you're afraid of your thoughts. Maybe you're afraid of being alone, and you turn on the radio, turn on the television, and listening to music once you go out, because you don't feel comfortable with your thoughts. Maybe the dark thoughts coming into your mind, right? Well, that could be the cause why you're afraid of being alone. Maybe there is a negative you sitting inside of you and telling you all these horrible things, like what could happen and why it's happening. It is all your fault, and you are the maker of your own problems. Yeah, true. Most of it, but sometimes, sorry my French, shit happens to good people, and sometimes it has to happen that way. So yeah, so fear is all in your head. And it's a thought process of what could happen in a worst case scenario, right? But usually that fear is sometimes we get absorbed into fear so much it becomes self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Which we would call self-fulfilling program. So you're programming yourself to become a certain way, right? As I was discussing with my wife, oh, do you know these signs on the roads with like, oh, this is dangerous part of the road, there has been that many incidents so far, and you're like, oh shit, I should be careful. Maybe I'll be getting in a car crash next time. That makes you think. But then again, it could go so far that you actually program yourself like, oh my gosh, next time probably will be me if I'll be rushing, and here and behold, you are in a car accident. God forbid, it wouldn't happen, but there you go. You place an order, you put enough thought, put enough intention, put enough fear. Fear is the same intention. If you put too much of something, if you put too much attention into something, it will manifest. Trust me. So yeah, you gave into that game. Next time we will talk about playing a game of life, how that works, right? Or I actually can break that down into certain segments. That'll be a lot shorter video. Anyway, so fear is a self-preservation mechanism. It has its purpose. It should be shedding light on certain aspects which you need to work on, right? Work on, like, it's not like, oh, I'm afraid of spiders and I'm gonna go and hold the spider in my hand. It's like, yeah, but have you researched them? Have you researched how they behave? With what kind of intention? Because animals are a lot more sensitive than humans, right? In certain aspects, they do sense danger, and they do sense fear and they take it as their own fear. So animals are natural empaths. So if you're going to grab out of fear with your shaking hands, you're going to grab a tarantula, let's say, right? Guess what? That tarantula will not gonna be happy. And it's not a good idea. Before you grab a tarantula, before you handle the tarantula, I should say, you should do some research. Spiders do not bite people because they feel like it. Spiders only bite when threatened. And if you are fearful of them, they take that fear as unpredictability. You're unpredictable, and therefore you are a danger to them. So that's why they are a lot smaller, so they're gonna use that moment to shock you, to scare you, so you wouldn't scare them. Right? That's smart, right? But yeah, same thing with dogs. Same thing with other wild animals. They take your fear of them as their own fear, and therefore you are unpredictable. At least that way they can take control of that situation. So if you calm yourself down and realize, to a spider you are a moving mountain, and what is the point to bite a mountain? There is no. They can't tell whether it's a human, whether it is a... Yeah, it probably has different texture, right? But the different texture, different temperature, maybe has different vibrations, right? As if there was blood pumping through your veins. Well, heart pumping blood through your veins. They probably feel that too. So what would be the point of a spider climbing on top of the mountain and biting it? Would it be wasting its precious venom to a mountain? Then being without a venom, which would possibly bring a new victim for them to eat, right? They actually have to abstain themselves from eating after biting you. So it's illogical for them to bite, right? So as long as you holding your fingers together and you're not by accident squeezing them, they have no reason to, because mountains do not squeeze them, does it? Do they? They do not. And they usually act out of fear. So basically it's resonating with them and they just don't like that and they're just biting. Anyways, right, we already established that. So fear is self-preservation mechanism, same in the animals. It's more prevalent in the animals than in the humans, because animals act on instinct, people act on memory, right? Well, memory is a certain type of instinct as well. But anyways, I digress. So fear is but an illusion. Good illusion, I should say, because illusions are meant to deceive you. So if you are afraid of stage, I used to have a stage fright, and then I didn't told anyone, but I was asked to host certain events, but because director of that school was very of a high opinion of me, and I thought like, oh, well, I'll give it a try, and I did host several events, and even though I was fearful, but there was nothing wrong could happen. They didn't have the Rotten Tomatoes. They didn't even knew where we're practicing, like what kind of text, whether I made a mistake, maybe I skipped a line. They didn't knew that. They didn't knew any better. So basically it was all in my head. And it usually is all in our heads, because fear is process of thinking, line of thinking. It's a result of the thinking. So, but when I got on the stage, to host those events, my mind used to go blank, and all I remember is like, next line I need to say, next thing I need to do, right? It was simple as that. It's like once you're on that spot where you need to do something, you do it. And there is no fear. Same thing with YouTube. At the beginning my hands were shaking when I was doing tarot readings. But not anymore, guys. Not anymore. Look, I'm talking to you now. Fear is good when in little amounts. It's conscious thinking. But then fear helps us to see certain aspects which bother us. As I said, if you are afraid of someone leaving you, it might be a different thing. It's not that you're just afraid of being alone. It could be other things. It could be that there is a childhood trauma of you being left alone, left abandoned. Anything, guys, anything. We all are so similar, but at the same time we are so different. We might have similar life lessons, but they express themselves so differently. It's mind-boggling. So let's not go there. Alright, so yeah. So this was a fear. But as I said, it's only as an illusion. Once we take control of our mind, which actually our mind is not thought producing machine, it's a receiver. It's like, what do you want, you attract. If you want an answer, you'll attract certain situations which will provide you an answer to certain questions. So yeah, it's once you learn to, which that's why meditation is so good. Meditation teaches you to sit down. Well, you don't have to. There are all types of meditations. There's moving meditations. There's Tai Chi. As I think Kung Fu as well. Certain forms of Kung Fu. And Qigong, also moving meditation. So many meditations, guys. As long as even potato peeling meditation. That's what. Once you start peeling potato, that's all you do, and you don't think about anything else. Isn't that right? I know that's what I used to do sometimes. I thought like, why I can't meditate. That's why, because I was idle for so long that with my mind that sometimes I don't even need it. It's like sometimes I really need to make my mind work, because most of the time I'm just blank. Because mind is a tool. And thinking is working, right? So thinking is addicting, because that keeps a noise in the head, which keeps you kind of in a box and blinded. It's like with a horse with the blinders, you only see that way, right? But with learning to just observe your thoughts, do not judge them. That's what meditation teaches us. Observe thoughts, do not judge them. And so you observe the thoughts, and without any judgment, without no other thoughts, why are you thinking that way? It's like, no, you're just like, whoa, did I just thought that? And you're like, no, I wasn't thinking at all. And you're like, okay, next. And all these thoughts going through your mind, then you understand that your mind is not some kind of a bag of thoughts. It is not. If anything, your mind is a tool to attract certain things, what you want. I hope this was helpful, guys. Love and light to you. Namaste. And I'll see you next time. Bye bye.